On September 16, 1940, the Selective Training and Service Act was put in place requiring all men between ages 21 and 30 to join the military service during World War II. This act changed the lives of many young men, including my great-grandpa, and the atmosphere of the country as a whole. Did you enlist in the war, or were you drafted?
I was on the draft board's list, but I actually enlisted in the Navy in 1943.
How long did you serve for?
Till February of 46. Actually, 2.5 years.
Were you on a submarine the whole time?
No, not the entire time. I went to boot camp, basic training, they called it. And then I went to submarine school in Connecticut.
How was the boot camp? Was it really difficult?
Yeah, it was actually in Idaho. Not too far from where you're living. It's called Farragut.
Where were you enlisted?
I enlisted in Los Angeles. And I went by train, which was like a cattle car, to Idaho. And I spent 3 months in boot camp.
What were you doing before you joined the military?
I was working for an aviation, North American Aviation, as a draftsman.
How old were you?
I was 22.
So, did you already attend college?
Well, I went to college after my naval training, but I went to what was called City College for a year.
You go to college afterwards?
I went to USC. I could never have gone there without the GI Bill.
Due to many men having to leave their jobs and education to support the war effort, the GI Bill was established to provide veterans with funds to return to college, discounts on housing, and unemployment insurance.
I went there after my military on the GI Bill.
What were your feelings about the war?
Well, that's something that you have to understand about that generation. When we were attacked by the Japanese, patriotism was on everybody's lips and emotion. We were gung-ho to get revenge. That's what pulled us into the war. We were supporting with material and equipment in Europe before that, but we were not sending men over there quite then.
What ways did it impact your family?
Well, there was something called rationing. Tires, metal parts, building materials, food stuff. A lot of food was rationed, butter, sugar, and they had what they called a ration board.
Oh.
And you had to register with them, and then you were given so many tickets that were worth certain quantities of these products. Like if you were in a place of work that was employing people for the war effort, like aircraft industry and shipbuilding, for example. There were others, but that was the main ones. They would give you extra on gasoline coupons, they called them, to get additional gasoline for your commuting to work.
Did you ever write to your family?
I wrote to my mother almost weekly. My mom saved all of them.
What were your responsibilities on the submarine?
I was a motor machinist mate, motor Mac they called us. I was in the forward engine room, operating the diesel engines.
How long did you have to work a day?
Well, the way the Navy did it was you were in what they called a duty section. And they had 3 duty sections. You worked for 8 hours, and then you were off for 8 hours. That was a normal day. So you had to do your eating and sleeping and personal businesses.
In those 8 hours?
In those 8 hours off. And you could sit around and stare out the floor if you wanted to, but that was on your time.
What'd you normally do, when you had free time? What'd you do to pass the time?
Well, I wrote letters to my to your great grandmother and to my mother, your great grandmother.
Yeah.
And there was always I studied the ship that I was on, because in sub-duty, when you're assigned to a submarine, they expect you to get qualified, they called it, as a submarine sailor. That meant that you had to learn everything about your boat.
How big was it?
350 feet. Compared to naval ships, it was small. And each submarine had a crew size of 76. Those men, that was officers and enlisted men.
How long did you normally stay, underwater for?
Yeah, we would be, when we were on a patrol, they called it, you would be gone for maybe 60 days before you get back to port.
Oh.
But you would be submerged during the daytime, running on batteries. Mm-hmm. And then at night you'd surface and recharge the batteries. That was to maintain secrecy.
What were the living conditions like, and the food?
Not too good. I should correct that. We had the great food. We did have good food.
What about the sanitation and stuff?
That was meticulous. The Navy's always a stickler for sanitation. They cleaned up, keep the boat clean. And sub-duty is a volunteer duty. You don't get drafted into that. That was, when you're in boot camp, you decide what branch of the Navy you'd like to serve in, and you apply for that. Then they test you for being capable of doing that duty.
On that subject, why did you choose the Navy to enlist in?
Well, the thought of crawling around in the mud on a foreign soil didn't appeal to me, having somebody shoot at me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That didn't appeal to me. The Navy was always kind of a clean duty compared.
Did you have any experience on submarines or boats before?
No. No, I was vaguely familiar with what submarine duty entailed, but you learn in a hurry.
Did you ever get seasick?
No, never was.
Did you go during the war?
The Pacific area. Our main base was in Honolulu, Pearl Harbor.
Oh. What was your view on Japan and the war in Europe prior to Pearl Harbor?
Well, when I was in high school, I had a social studies teacher, Mrs. Kellogg was her name. She had gone to Europe on her summer vacation during the year of 1936, and that weeks were in Berlin. She came back and shared her experience with the class. And what I remembered about that experience of hers is she told the class that war was just around the corner in Europe. You know, and as far as Europe is concerned, that's when about the time, it wasn't long after that, 1939 actually, that Germany attacked Poland, and the rest is history there. But your great-great-grandmother, my mother, was born in Germany, so I'm half German. So I had some, what would you say, heritage in my family from my mother's side. So there was a sensitivity there. My mother was very American. She was not supportive. We were not supportive of the Nazi regime at all. They were our enemy, if you will.
Yeah.
And Japanese were, we referred to them as Japs, which was a derogatory way of talking about them. We hated the Japanese because they attacked us in Pearl Harbor and caused a lot of destruction and death.
So after the war, like, did that change your thoughts on, like, immigration policies?
It took a long time. To, I remember saying I would never buy a Japanese product, but then later on I ended up buying a VW, which was not Japanese, it was German. But I ended up buying Japanese products like Nikon camera and so forth. But you don't, life changes as you go back to some kind of normal activity.
Could you see, like, around the submarine?
No, you're in a black hole.
So was there only one person that, like, watched the lookout?
Well, when you were on the surface, they had people on topside as observers to look out for aircraft and surface ships that were enemy. And but you couldn't see out of, if you were in the sub, you couldn't see out. The only person that could do that was the captain, who used the periscope.
Yeah.
When you were